I've been saying it for a while now that I've been treating this year, 2026, as sort of a last hurrah for Xbox in terms of, just how I view it. You guys might be thinking differently, and I'm not trying to kind of disparage you if you think Xbox is, the bee's knees still and it's doing great. Like, I don't see how anybody could think it's doing great, but as a console, right? And I know some people will go, well, Xbox is everything now. But if you go ask the average person on the street, hey, what's an Xbox? They're going to say a console, and having the ability to play all these other places hasn't helped Xbox at all. So, but there are some good things. And so treating it as a big last hurrah for Xbox, I think is pretty cool. And it does look like, like I said, we're getting some really cool things from the game development standpoint. And so that is something to be greatly excited about. Like for me personally, I think, it's going to be cool to see like some of these games come out. Like I'm excited for Forza Horizon 6 and, Gears of War, E-Day, and, even the Halo campaign. Here we go again. I mean, I'll play it for the 100th time or whatever. And Fable looks good. I'm hoping there's some things cleaned up with Fable. Like on second look. Not to get too much into it, but like even when you're the dude, it kind of walks like a girl. So I don't know. I hope that gets cleared up, and a couple other things. But I still have high hopes for that game. I'm willing to give it a definite chance and things like that. So I know a lot of you are probably the same way as I am with this, but that was a pretty good showcase, and it looks like Xbox might be planning a second developer direct for this year as well. So over the past few years, the Xbox Developer Direct Showcase has always taken place at around the same time in mid to late January, and the 2026 version of the event was no exception, as we had that, and it was pretty awesome. However, with this year marking the 25th anniversary of Xbox and so many exciting first-party games on the horizon for Microsoft, it's been rumored that they're exploring the possibility of a second Developer Direct for 2026, coming from Windows Central's Jez Gordon, who said the following. Now, keep in mind, I have nothing against Jez Gordon. I've known him for many years, and he is actually the only on-staff game writer on Windows Central right now. Everybody else was unfortunately let go. That's horrible. But this is what he had to say about it. Quote, "I've heard that they are exploring doing another one this year. Don't be surprised if we do get another Developer Direct this year at some point. Don't know when. I heard specifically Developer Direct is what they're exploring for this year, and we'll see what happens." So, with the likes of Halo, Campaign Evolved, Gears of War E-Day, Clockwork Revolution, and other upcoming Xbox first-party games missing out at January's Developer Direct, we can see why a second version could make sense for later this year. A lot of those games will likely be highlighted at the Xbox Game Showcase in the summer, though, the difference being that June's show is rapidly paced, whereas Developer Directs allow each game to breathe. Like, as you can see, like, we get a good amount of time with each of the games, and, I thought that was pretty cool, the way that they handled that. Like, developers get time to kind of explain things, whereas with the showcase in, June or whatever, tend to be just a situation where they do a trailer or whatever. There's not really much of a deep dive, although they usually do some sort of deep dive later on, like the second one or whatever. Like we did get that with the Starfield one, I remember, and I think, what was it, Call of Duty last year. Like, I didn't even pay attention to that one. I didn't watch the Call of Duty thing at all. Like, I just honestly can't be bothered to mess with that anymore. It's just unfortunate, but I honestly I can't really get into it. So. And I tried. I'm sure that there's people that still really love Call of Duty, but from a person and a standpoint where I really got into, I like the campaigns a lot. They really just kind of crapped on the campaigns, and they're just not, I just don't think that they're as fun anymore. I don't know. It's like, in the multiplayer is just like everybody is all over the place with that. But anyway, nice. It would be cool to see another Developer Direct. I remember a time when Microsoft, even when they had less games, would do a lot of little things. They do that little show. The rumor should be taken with a pinch of salt for the time being. Jez says he's not 100% on whether it will happen or not, and exploring suggested it might not be set in stone. Obviously. obviously. We're certainly hoping that it does come to fruition. I would like Microsoft to go all out, and this year we get everything that we should have been getting every year. You know what I mean? It's like you don't just celebrate. It's like if you appreciate your fans, you don't just celebrate them on a big anniversary, right? Like we should have got something special as Xbox fans. We should have gotten a wrap up at the end of the year. We should have gotten, there's a lot of things that we should have gotten, but we didn't. And, that's really unfortunate when that comes to mind. So it's one of those things where I do kind of have hope that we do get more and more type of games and things like that and announcements, because it's still, I think, important just as fans to get those type of things, and to be excited about it. Even if, things are going to hell in a handbasket as Xbox fans, at the very least, we do have, some of these other pieces of good news to kind of go on. And I think that that's fantastic, just as gamers, it is nice to see gamers be able to be excited. And yeah, it is kind of frustrating to see like the same old, handful of people on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, talking about, how Xbox is the place to be and all this kind of stuff. It's just honestly, one of those things where I just kind of look at it and I just shake my head a bit. So, I do feel that Microsoft is onto something with some of the games, and it is nice to see that come to fruition. And I've mentioned it numerous times that it's somewhat bittersweet, to say the least, because we were promised all these things. We were promised that all the things that we're getting, but we were promised them as exclusive. And if you don't believe me, and you don't believe Microsoft had the intentions of exclusivity, they announced their intent to buy ZeniMax Bethesda one day before pre-orders for Xbox Series X opened up. And you don't think that's a coincidence, right? Like, hey, we're seeing, because I know it's a coincidence, because I wasn't planning the pre-order one, and I did. So, with the intent that things are going to be exclusive, and people will still make excuses for that. You know what I'm saying? It's a real shame that people cover everything the way that they do. I don't know, but it's strange to me that people still cover for everything that's kind of happening and everything that's kind of going on with Xbox, but you never know what's going to happen. Like, today it's this, tomorrow it could be something completely different from them. So that's how I tend to look at it. Like, I refuse to give up hope that they could do something. I know they've obviously got their plans or whatever the case may be. They're probably thinking along the lines of, hey, we've got all these kind of different things going on, and maybe we'll surprise the fans with another show or whatever. That would be pretty sweet. But with GTA 6 and everything coming out, it would be a little bit difficult, in my opinion, to put games out all year, especially when it comes close to GTA release date, especially if that game isn't if it turns out, if it does end up coming out, we don't really know if it will, but I would assume that it's gonna, it does feel like it's gonna come out and should be out when they say it will. I firmly kind of believe that, and I think Microsoft probably wishes it would have come out years ago, because I don't know if it would have helped save Xbox consoles, but certainly if they could have kept the Series S at $299 and maybe even cheaper for the holidays, they could have sold probably millions more. But now, as it sits, everybody kind of knows what's up, that Microsoft literally, like, even the most hardcore Xbox fan will say Microsoft gave up on this generation. And that's because people are all assuming that they'll come out with something new next year. But we don't even know if that's 100% the case. They might not even come out with something that is being sold in stores or retail. It could just be something like the Surfaces now, where you can only get them like online. And, obviously there's some stores in the US that have stopped selling Xbox stuff. There's stores in other territories that have stopped. So this next thing could have the potential to do even worse than, say, like Wii U sales. And so I'm not 100% sure that developers are gonna back this thing for like an extended period of time if that's the case, unless it's just the whole idea behind it is that it's just going to play PC versions of the games or whatever. I honestly can't see developers messing with Xbox in the future over, you know, especially if it has such a low install base. So I don't know. What do you guys think, though? I will link this in the description. You guys can let me know what you think. Would you guys want to see another dedicated showcase to Xbox games? I think it would be kind of cool, and again, you know, nice to see this year would end up starting to get some really cool stuff and even more announcements. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, rack 'em up. Crap Gamer.